when you look to the Alabama wide receivers, and I think we've been, at least I've been a little bit critical of their play this last season. I'm curious to get your take, and maybe if we can talk, kind of navigate our conversation to some question marks going into spring football, and maybe we just start out with the wide receivers under Tommy Rees, right? You have some very capable receivers that are coming up. You have some new additions. What are your kind of your biggest question marks from the receiver unit as we get closer to spring ball?
I think that it's more of, how can Tommy Rees scheme to get some of these guys open? He's going to have a lot more weapons at his disposal, especially at wide receiver,
Hmm.
than he ever dreamed of at Notre Dame. I mean, when you go look into recruiting, and recruiting is not everything, and Notre Dame recruited some pretty good players. They
Yeah.
I think had 11 or 12 4-star receivers over the last 4 or 5 years.
Hmm.
I mean, Alabama's had like I think close to 20, like 19 during the
Yeah.
same span, and I think like 15 of them are top 100 players compared
Hmm.
to maybe like only 2 for Notre Dame that were top 100 guys coming out of high school. So just the amount of recruiting talent that he's going to have available at that position. The biggest question mark with him is we don't know how he'll adjust. You
Yep.
would think with having that kind of, talent at a certain position, you're going to utilize it, but he's never really had to utilize it, right? I mean, he's run his offense through his tight ends, through a running game, through a mobile quarterback in a lot of instances. And so I will be curious to see how he adjusts and how he uses some of these weapons because you've got so much experience coming back.
Hmm.
You lose a ton of experience. I mean, Trayshawn
Hmm.
Holt, JoJo
Yep.
Earl,
Hmm.
Tyler Harrell was a guy who was
Yep.
supposed to be a part of that rotation. There's been several of them to depart, but you still got Kobe Prentice, you still got Isaiah Bond, you got Kendrick Law. All three of those guys now have a year under their belts. You've got Ja'Cory Brooks, who's got a couple of years. You've got
Can I
Jermaine.
just can I interrupt you? Can you, because I was just going to ask you about these super sophomores, right? Like Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law. I mean, those guys excite me so much when you look to the wide receiver room. What do you like about those three individuals as you kind of gain what we saw from them last year? Because I think each of those guys has the ability to make a major impact this season.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think of the three, I think Prentice is probably the one that's most capable of handling volume.
Yep.
Isaiah Bond is by far, at least in my opinion, the most exciting of the
Yeah.
trio. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be an absolute superstar. Is he going to be a guy who catches 100 balls in your offense? I don't know. Time will tell.
Hmm.
But from what I've seen, I don't really think he's going to be that guy. He'll probably be like a 60 or 70 catch guy with a lot of explosive plays. You can use him in a lot of different ways. Kendrick Law is kind of, I viewed him coming out of high school more as a gadget player. You
Hmm.
just didn't see him do a whole lot, and he definitely didn't handle any sort of volume in high school, and he didn't have a whole lot of usage as far as targets and stuff this past season for Alabama. So he might be one of those players that never has high volume usage. Kind of I'm not going to say he's the same skill set as Henry Ruggs, but Henry Ruggs never got the kind of volume that Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or
Hmm.
Jerry Judy had. But he was a very
Hmm.
explosive player when he did get opportunities. He blocked his tail off. Kendrick Law has a lot of that blocking ability and that willingness to block. And then with
Hmm.
Kobe Prentice, his ability to win inside and out. He plays a lot of his
Yeah.
reps inside in the slot, but he can win vertically from the slot. And I think that that's
Hmm.
something that Alabama was missing in the offense this past season. Jameson Williams was a perimeter receiver for the most part, but
Hmm.
when he did play in the slot, he had that vertical, field stretching ability. I think Kobe Prentice and Isaiah Bond, both of those two guys can provide that. And just so the versatility that you have with this
Hmm.
trio is pretty special. And you also got Shaz Preston, and I don't want to
Yeah.
completely rule him out. He was by some
Yeah.
recruiting services, he was the highest rated of the four. So
Yep.
we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with him. But just a very exciting group. And then you got Malik Benson coming in, who's
Hmm.
supposed to be a superstar. You got the veterans and Jermaine Burton and Ja'Cory Brooks. I mean, it is still a very talented wide receiver room in Tuscaloosa. So I don't think fans have anything to worry about on that front.
Okay. Sometimes I just kind of sit back when I'm with Andrew Bone or even with Clint or Jimmy because the wealth of knowledge that these guys have under them, I love it. Like I love to be a part of that dog mentality. So Clint, I always tell you this, man. Like you are doing a fantastic job on the beat at Alabama. I've watched you continue to work on your craft, man. So credit to you. Stay in the trenches. Keep working hard. We love the dog mentality that you have. I have one more question for you regarding this kind of receiver room slash tight end as we move under. That is a question about Amari Niblack. He's a player that I think sometimes we forget to talk about. I like the fact that college football has somewhat evolved to these tight end slash wide receiver hybrids that can be a mismatch. And I think with Amari Niblack, it'll be interesting to see his development this springtime, but how Alabama can utilize someone like him that can create mismatches if he has his hand in the dirt or if he's on the outside, red zone situations. What are you thinking about when we talk Amari Niblack?
I think the number one thing with him, whether you're transitioning from high school to college or college to the NFL, one of the toughest positions to make that transition is at tight end, because not only are you being asked to block better quality players, you're also having to learn to create separation and catch footballs and stuff against better quality players, as far as linebackers and defensive backs. So it's kind of a twofold kind of thing. Just the responsibilities that they have. And I think Alabama, a lot of people wanted them to use Amari Niblack more situationally, flex him out and just essentially have him as a big bodied receiver. A lot of times when he was in the game, he was not flexed out. He was in line. And I don't think that necessarily fits his skill set, but I think it was Alabama trying to get him, better on that front, because if he can become a more complete tight end, you can use him and provide that mismatch ability in so many different ways by lining him up all over the place and not just flexing him out. And there's a mental aspect of that. And I think that that's something that Amari Niblack, is a true freshman. He's a young guy. It's complicated stuff. I think he struggled a little bit with it, but that doesn't mean that's going to continue to be a problem. It's just, as time and experience happens, he'll get more comfortable, and I think he eventually gets involved in the offense. I don't know if that will be in 2023. I certainly hope that it will be. I think that he could potentially complement CJ Dupree and Rob Youth and some of these guys, but I think Alabama's in a really good place at tight end with the addition of CJ Dupree. And so they've got their kind of headliner guy who's balanced and can do a lot of different things. And then they've got a bunch of other guys at tight end who, are kind of on the brink, and it's a matter of which one of those guys emerges. I think Oots is probably going to be tight end too, but Amari Niblack can certainly have a role in this offense because of his ability to catch the football and provide such a mismatch for Alabama's offense.
Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson. Thank you very much for watching this video. Check out our other related content right here on Bama Insider. Be sure and like and subscribe, inching closer to 100,000 subscribers right here on Bama Insider.